Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of I Am I. My name is Joshua Ansley, coming to you without hair product from South Carolina, doing a little work down here in South Carolina. Today I want to talk about seeking happiness, which seems like a pretty good thing to do, right? Pretty normal, expectable thing for somebody to want to do in their life. Apparently I'm catching a southern accent a bit down here, so perhaps I'll do it with a little bit of a gentlemanly drawl. Hello, Huck. You want to say hello, Huck? Say hello, yeah, buddy. All right, so let's talk about finding a little happiness in our lives. The funny thing is that happiness and joy are, as I've spoken about before, they are emotions that need to be cultivated, right? If we don't take charge of our thoughts, which can create our emotions, and understanding how much thoughts affect and create our entire reality, then we can be consumed by the lower base vibrational frequencies, the lower base thoughts. Like, that's the tendency, is to be drawn down, right? It takes effort to lift up. So it takes effort to not allow ourselves to be swept away into those places. Although what I love to do is contradict myself, because part of it is allowing yourself to be swept away into those places, right? Because recognizing that those emotions, those dark emotions, are all part of it. They are not who we are. They do not define who we are. They are not facts, right? So we practice actually joy and happiness and things like this in our lives, and it's not getting something, so get money so that it's not get this so you can do this so you can be this. It's be this so you can do this, and then maybe you'll get something, right? So it's about getting into a state of being, right? So working through those lower states of being and getting ourselves into a state of being of happiness and joy. But I will say, my whole point with this whole thing is that is still limited. What the teaching is trying to convey, and it all comes back to the koshas. The system of koshas makes it all the paradoxes or things that don't make sense make a bunch of sense, but it will never make sense until it's an experiential thing. Happiness and joy are just emotions, so they are limited compared to the bliss of, like, the Anandamaya kosha, right? And then compared to the nothingness and the everything that is the self, right, in that state of being. Because even if you're experiencing bliss, you're still experiencing something. You're still relating from a space until you recognize that you are that space, right? And really, the freedom really comes from when you recognize that you can, the more you work into that space, that there, I talk about duality, and that the singularity includes the duality. So if you move into a space of the mind and you move into the emotions, recognizing that you are not the mind doesn't mean that you are not going to have particularly dark emotions. Now, it means that you may have to work through them and then learn to cultivate the ones. It's a process, because if there's unprocessed emotions, it is a process that you have to process, right? So those emotions need to be processed. So, but recognizing when you have that experience of being completely fucked up and at the same time being absolutely okay, when you recognize that duality, right, which is coming from the singularity. This is kind of confusing, but I was in an advanced meditation practice the other day, and it's kind of funny. It's so cool when I discover the things on my own and then find them later in a practice of some sort. And it's a Vedantic way of teaching through Vedanta, right? Which is, you posit something, you accept it to be true, and then you find out where it's not, right? And then you reject it. Because the truth is that really none of it, not even the teachings are of this world of duality. But the duality is included in the singularity. So if you have this state of being in this space of eternal consciousness that then recognizes that is separate from the emotions, and you can be separate in that space of stillness, but still have your emotions, Well, now there's a problem with that, because the problem with that is that there's duality, and shouldn't everything be singular and completely unified? And the truth is, it actually is, but it is also separate. So it takes an advanced understanding and practice to be able to actually experience that in your life, so that you can experience being completely fucked up and at the same time okay, so that those emotions can be processed, so you recognize you're not your emotions, you were not consumed by them, right? So otherwise you reject them and we stay in a place of and that causes chaos, right? The trauma or whatever it is needs to be worked through and processed, recognizing you are not that space. And once that's passed through, then when you get into deeper spaces, you can allow that to happen. But because then ultimately the truth is that it is something that is beyond that emotional joy. It is not just about seeking happiness. It's not just about coming to a space of happiness and joy within ourselves. From the deepest teachings, I'm saying, right? The deepest teachings are that space of that self is in that space of nothing, which is everything, right? And it is beyond emotional joy. That emotional joy is still little self-centered, and centered in the little self, right? That doesn't mean that we can't experience joy and we don't work towards joy and we don't practice joy, because I do believe that those are gateways, those are ladders to higher vibrational frequencies, right? But they're still vibrational frequencies. The self is something that it is not the immanent, it is the transcendental, right? So when everything else, when we're working and we're seeking happiness, and we're seeking happiness, particularly if we're seeking happiness through external things in life, right? Because it's not bad to have, it's not bad to have these experiences and things that bring you joy in life. But understanding that that is fleeting, that is temporal, that will change. Oh, and that's my calling. All right, I'm getting out of here. All right, in Lakesh Lakin, I am you, you are me. Namaste. What? Too much?